Vindictus, Defying Fate, or as I like to call it, Vindictus, Defying Woke. It's in alpha again. I actually live streamed some of this game, feel like it was a year, maybe even a year and a half ago when it was on Steam and had a temporary alpha test available. I actually found it to be quite interesting, although a bit janky, and this time around it's a lot better, though still just a little bit janky, but not so janky that I didn't find it an absolutely amazing experience, and I want to tell you all about it. I'm Fox with RealMarcFoxx. Roll the intro.
You're taking the real pill with RealMarcFoxx, your home for rational, reasonable, real gamers.
The real pill's here. Oh yeah!
All right, how'd you like the new intro? I put a lot of work into that. I did an entire a minute 44-second video on that one. You can check it out on my channel. Just ignore the notes I have in front of me. I'm obviously not reading from them because I have all this memorized. Vindictus Defying Fate is available for free, at least currently on Steam, to play in what they call the alpha test, even though it's been in alpha for a long time now. I am very much looking forward to this game fully releasing. It is semi-online in the fact that you do connect to a server apparently, but you can also play multiplayer with other players, especially if you want to jump in and fight a boss with up to 3 other people. I did just that, and we summarily got our butts handed to us. We wiped. The whole team wiped. Vindictus Defying Fate has more of a level-based structure where you can essentially warp to certain points and then travel from one checkpoint to the next. The checkpoints function much like the ones in Souls games, such as bonfires or points of grace, and this game shares a lot in common with the Souls-likes, although it isn't directly a Souls-like. You can sit down at a checkpoint and rest, restoring your consumable, reusable healing item. It also restores the enemies in the area, but instead of simply leveling up and assigning stats, you get ability points that you can put into different abilities in a couple different trees. I'm sure there'll be more when the game fully releases. When you do level up, it appears to be just set stats. You can't control it, at least not in this alpha demo version. But where this game reminds me most of Souls-likes is in its hybrid style combat. You see, this is something between kind of a character action game and a Souls-like, in that you have combos you can string together as well as special moves which go down on cooldown. You can also build up, I think it's called either Vigor or Focus Meter, and then unleash a powered up Y attack. That's your heavy attack. Yes, this game uses the front buttons, the buttons on the front of the controller, not the shoulder buttons. So all of you Souls fans that prefer to use the shoulder buttons, you can remap it, at least on the PC. And of course, there's no way to see all the hubbub about Vindictus Defying Fate without noticing that it has a lot of outfits for the female characters, and many of them are indeed very skimpy. On top of that, it has a breast slider, which you can take from, I believe, about 0 to 50. And let me tell you something. At 10, this looks like massive double Ds. I actually put the slider all the way to 0 or 1, whatever the lowest setting is, and if you happen to slide it all the way to 50, well, let me just tell you something. It is comically, absurdly large. Like, seriously, even at a 10, they're large. Heck, at a 0, at the minimum possible size, your female character is going to have a very ample bosom. But don't worry, there are a couple male characters to choose from as well. You've got 2 females and 2 males that you can play as in this alpha test demo. I picked, I think her name was Delia, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but you can pick either one or 2 of the males. I don't know why you'd want to play a male if you're playing this game. This is all about playing the game, enjoying the combat, the levels, the bosses, the enemies, and playing a little dress up. As far as the alpha test goes, you don't actually have to pay any real money. In fact, if you want some of these special outfits that you buy from the outfit store, you do that with in-game currency, and I found myself getting quite a lot of in-game currency. I've purchased most of the outfits I was really interested in, and now I'm holding on to my currency to decide which additional outfits I'd like to buy later. All of the outfits that feature skirts feature the appropriate length for a woman's skirt. That is, it comes just barely below the butt cheeks. In which case, if you jump, move, or otherwise simply, I don't know, walk, you're gonna see more than you probably should. And hey, maybe that's not always a bad thing. However, you probably shouldn't wear a skirt this short to the grocery store. you'll definitely get some looks and some dirty looks from old grandmas and other women, especially with their kids. So the drama around Vindictus Defying Fate is that it's a gooner game, and you know what? It can sort of be, but this is not a pornographic game, if you know what I mean. I'm using words that YouTube won't flag. You see, there is no actual nudity in this game, so it's not pornographic. Period. End of story. I don't care what the most religiously conservative Christian on X is telling you. It's not pornographic. Okay? Now, is it borderline? I mean, you're not going to see any more than you would see on most public beaches, particularly in Europe or South America. So, if you go to a public beach, are you a gooner? So yes, we've got some absolutely stunning, beautiful babes in the game. A couple guys, if you want to pick one of those, you can do that. No problem with that. I'm not judging you. You can pick a guy if you want to. I mean, some guys like to play as guys, right? I mean, that makes sense. But what we're really here for, what's the most important thing about Vindictus Defying Fate, is the excessive jiggle physics. I'm actually just kidding. Now, there are excessive jiggle physics in the game, which you can't change, but you also can't change many of the graphics options on the PC, which kind of sucks. You have to use an upscaler. You can set a quality setting, but then as far as graphics goes, you're almost solely limited to a single set of options, such as like maximum, high, medium, low. They don't separate things out like chromatic aberration or motion blur. You can go into the INI, the initialization, I think they're called files, like game engine initialization files, and edit some stuff, but some people have complained that it doesn't necessarily work. I imagine when the game fully releases, we'll have all of the standard graphics settings, including, if you want it, I don't, frame generation. The devs have talked about it. Visually, the game looks pretty good and it performs pretty well, although I end up having to use DLSS. You can pick ZESS from Intel. You can use that on any graphics card, or FSR, although honestly, DLSS with the latest DLL for it to get the latest version is the best way to go. If you want to get the latest version of DLSS for just about any game that uses it, you can get a tool called DLSS Swapper. Just Google it. DLSS Swapper should automatically find your games and allow you to swap to the latest version so you can get arguably better visuals and better performance. Although, ideally, I'd like to just turn DLSS off. And getting back to what I was talking about before, the actual best thing about this game really is the combat. Now, when you're fighting the regular enemies in the game, the so-called trash mobs, they generally don't give you a lot of challenge. You can stun lock many of them. The only time you're going to have trouble is when you get blasted with a whole bunch of them all at once, which will happen from time to time. There was one particular area fairly early on where you get a bunch of melee enemies and then some bow and arrow ranged attackers that are shooting at you. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to die pretty quickly. You can hit your potion, your healing item, but it heals over time until you spec into it further to make it instant. But even then, it does take a little bit of time to drink the potion. It does not occur instantaneously. So in this area, there was a unique element to the combat in that the guys that were shooting the arrows at you were up on these platforms and you had to actually attack the bottom wooden planks of the platform to cause them to fall down. You'd knock the platform down, they'd fall down, and then you could kill them. You have to plan your way through some of these encounters, particularly the boss battles. This is where it feels most like a Souls game. Now, you are using special moves with cooldowns, which we typically don't see in Souls games, but you can string moves together, including some of those special moves, with your standard light and heavy attacks to make nice combos. You can also do a jumping heavy attack, which I love to do and did all the time, but you're not going to be able to stun lock the bosses. So here, you're going to have to get used to the parrying mechanic. You can actually parry in the game. It's not too terribly difficult. You just have to learn the enemy's moves, and there are a couple moves which you will not be able to parry. There's one in particular that is most useful to learn, and that's when they glow blue. There's like this flash of blue. That's when, if you get a perfect parry, or at least a parry that's close enough, you can get this sort of effect on the enemy where you stack up their stagger meter. And have we talked about that yet? Once you get the stagger meter on any enemy, including bosses, filled up all the way, then it turns red and it begins to go down. Now, you can wail on them for a bit, but before it goes all the way down, you want to hit that right trigger button if you're playing on a Xbox-style controller like I am, and you'll go into a special sort of fatal move or fatal attack, and this does a ton of damage, and ultimately your goal is to build the stagger meter up. But if you quit wailing on the enemy to run around, and escape their attacks, which is actually a very useful way to dodge attacks, is simply to run away from the boss, you know, use the dodge ability, which in the case of the female, she just kind of twirls, which is interesting. I don't know, it's kind of cute. You will find that the stagger meter starts quickly dropping. So you got to stay on top of these bosses to build that stagger meter up to get to your sort of fatal or critical attack, which really does the brunt of the damage. You can, of course, just whittle them down without ever having to use one of those critical attacks, but it can last quite a while, and some of these bosses are very tough. I found myself dying 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times or more to a few of the bosses. Some are much harder than others, just like any other Souls-ish style game, but in this case, well, the better you get at it, the better you'll be, and the more you'll find that you're not dying as much to the bosses. So here, it's not about just leveling up and speccing into abilities and then suddenly everything's easy. No, it doesn't work that way. That is how it is similar to a Souls-like. You actually have to get better at dodging, parrying, running around if you want to do that, and timing your attacks, including your combos. Your combos will often knock the enemy out of their attack. It will end up staggering them, but not always. So sometimes if you start one of your special moves, you're going to get hit because you started it. You can't stop it now. Boys, gaming is healing. During the alpha test, you were able to bring along an AI companion if you wanted to, or you could just dismiss them and then go by yourself. I don't know if it changes the difficulty of the game. You can actually pick a difficulty. It's an option in the options menu, but I just went with the normal. That's usually good enough for me. If things are too difficult, I'll often move it down to easy if it's not a game I particularly care about. But in this case, I actually really enjoyed the normal difficulty. I liked the challenge that it presented. Not too much, but not too little. The porridge isn't too hot, and the porridge isn't too cold. Now, there is some jankiness here. At times, the movement of the character will feel a bit stilted. There are those annoying kind of low-budget invisible walls at times. While you can jump, you can't jump on a lot of things that it looks like you should be able to. And in most cases, you can't jump off ledges or cliffs, but occasionally you can, and you die. But most of the time you can't. So when I was just jumping around near one cliff, I figured it was like all the others and you can't fall off of it, and I did, and I died. Now, getting back to the visuals, yes, you can customize the clothing to your liking. There are certain features of the clothes. For example, there's this sort of like Fox Priestess outfit that I like with a really short skirt on it. You can get rid of the little sleeve thingies that are on it. You can turn off the bell or the ribbon from the skirt. You can individually customize those, as well as find these dye ampules, I think they're pronounced. And you can use those to dye your different outfits different colors, and you can dye the outfit based on individual components of it. So there will be some outfits that will have 5, 6, 7 different colors attached to it, and you can change each individual color to whatever color you want as long as you have one of those little dye ampoules. Am I saying that right? Like I said, you can also purchase stuff from the style or fashion store, which includes haircuts, makeup, different eye color, different like whole outfits that come as a package, which you can modify those as well. You can turn certain things off or wear certain components. Like, for example, there was one that was like an evil maid outfit that I really liked, but I got rid of the devil horns. That just didn't do it for me. So then the question comes up, why is this game getting blasted in the Steam reviews with either mixed or even negative reviews? I think it may be in the negative now. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with there is a bit of jank, and some players just don't want that. They don't understand that it's an alpha, and while it may just release in its full state still a bit janky, when they release an alpha, you have to expect it to have some issues. You have to expect that it's not going to be a full and complete fully polished game. It's just not going to happen. And if it does, then they're basically lying, because that's essentially just a pre-release demo. That's not an alpha. Alpha is meant to communicate that this is not a beta. This is not a pre-release of the game. It's not just a demo of the final version of the game. This game is still fully in development, but they have enough where they want to let you play it and tell them what you like and don't like. And I think another reason for all the criticism of the game is definitely the PC version. While the performance was mostly fine for me, people don't like being forced to use upscalers like DLSS, FSR, or ZESS, and people don't like not having different graphics options, especially mandatory motion blur, chromatic aberration, bloom, all these other effects that many gamers will immediately, as soon as they launch a new game, go into the graphics settings, turn them off. Film grain, another one, turn it off, turn it off. Motion blur, off. Chromatic aberration, off. Film grain, off. We love turning these things off here at the Real Gamer Brigade because you know what? We're real gamers, and no real gamer uses motion blur. And while I did watch some of the cutscenes, I skipped most of the dialogue. They do that common Asian thing where they just show like an image of a person and then some text occasionally that was voiced. All the cutscenes though are done actually really well. The voice acting is amazing, and I think they got Scottish voice actors, and yeah, they sound really good. I'm a sucker for this girl's Scottish accent. It just does it for me, if you know what I mean.
And if my master taught me anything, it was to pay heed to these instincts of mine. Hook it up to the chain and pull the trigger, and your rappel gun will do the rest.
You don't have to watch the cutscenes, you can just play through the game. It's essentially somewhat mission-based, although you can go back to the missions and even re-challenge bosses you've defeated to get more rewards, and I did just that. While Vindictus Defying Fate may not be getting the best reviews on Steam, I believe this is another game that's similar to Anotria, The Last Song. I think you should probably give this a chance if you think you might like it, having seen the footage, because I don't think we can always rely on those reviews. Sometimes something you really enjoy is not what a lot of other people enjoy. And sometimes what a lot of other people enjoy, you don't. Lots of people out there say how great they think The Last of Us is, but this, I gotta tell you, The Last of Us looks like the last of the games I'd ever want to play in my life. It looks like nothing I'd have any interest in whatsoever. I'm sure I would not like it. I don't like those movie-style cinematic games that are essentially focused more on the story than actual gameplay. Let's not argue about The Last of Us. I'm just giving an example, okay? If you like it, fine. That's fine. You can like it. But in this case, I do really like Vindictus Defying Fate, and I've been playing a ton of it. And I'm surprised, actually, because it is much better than the first time I went through it. I did think this might be just one of those TNA-style games, no nudity, obviously, where they're trying to attract people with the visuals, but then the gameplay just doesn't cut it. Doesn't hold your interest, but in my case, it absolutely held my interest. I love encountering each new boss. While some of the early enemies in the game and early bosses all kind of look very similar to like these beastmen, don't worry. There will be much more variety as you go on. I knew there would be more variety because I played the previous alpha test and found that there were different types of enemies and bosses in the game, so I was just waiting for that moment when the variety would kick in, and it did. But what do you guys think? Have you tried Vindictus Defying Fate? It's free to try now on Steam as long as you're watching this video in a timely manner. I don't know if they're going to pull it down. I couldn't find any information on that. It may be available on PlayStation 5 or Xbox. You know, I haven't checked. I'm not a console gamer anymore. I even gave my PS5 to a friend to use for a while because he wants to play Death Stranding 2. I really don't care when I get it back. I'm not going to be using it for anything at this point except maybe Demon's Souls Remake, which I hope to do a video on in the near future. Tell me your comments about Vindictus Defying Vindictus Defying Fate. I'm Fox with RealMarcFoxx, and as always, my friends, remember, stay real, keep playing, and never forget, yesterday's tomorrow is today's today. And make sure you take the real pill. See you in the next one, guys.